Welcome to round 3 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast for the week of May 22nd. I'm Nicole and I'm here with Catherine Haleko.
Hello.
And Terry Morrow.
Hello.
We're moms of teens and young adults, and when it comes to parenting, we've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. But we're still waiting for that day when we'll reach the finish line and have no further need to lay down in a dark room with a wet rag over our eyes worrying about something or other. Wednesday is complaint day here on Parenting Roundabout, and today we are complaining about getting passports. And not
we so much as Nicole.
And not so much as passports in general, but like emergency passports. And I think it's just more of a commentary on just how inefficient some systems are.
Yes.
Welcome to America, Nicole.
Oh, gosh. And the other part of that, too, is how thankful I am that my kids are older and I don't need to drag them around to stuff like this anymore. They can go do it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So they are taking care of business on their own. I'm taking care of my business. So, yes, when I became an American citizen, it suddenly dawned on me that I need to travel out of the country within 2.5 weeks to my daughter's graduation. And so I needed an American passport to get back into the country. And I didn't have one. So I honestly don't understand how people who are multilingual, whose English isn't their first language, how they are able to decipher all the steps that you need to follow to do things like this. Like, these are really important things. And it is just so consuming. And, there's so many different pieces to remember. But the crux of the whole thing is that there's only a handful of emergency passport offices in the U.S. Mm-hmm. So, the one closest to me is L.A. But if there hadn't been an available appointment, I could have been asked to go to Denver or Virginia. Or New Mexico. Yes, it was so stressful. So I had to get up at 4 a.m. and call this live phone number. But I went onto Reddit, folks, and I got a few little hacks on how to hack the phone system and get to an agent fast.
Nice.
So I did that.
Smart.
But yeah, so I ended up driving into LA yesterday, 3 hours to get there because of traffic. It's 75 miles. Took me 3 hours.
Yeah.
And just I understand the whole security piece of it, but it was a 2-hour lineup to get into the building.
Oh my
Into the building, folks. And then from there was a hour lineup to get to the check-in window.
Jeez.
And then once you get to the check-in window, you go sit in a seat like you do at the DMV, and you wait for your number to be called. So that was another hour.
And you didn't have an appointment?
I did.
And you still had to do all this?
Everybody has to do that, regardless of appointments. Oh, my gosh. You have to have an appointment to be there. My appointment was for 11:30, and I finally saw my lady at 2:30 or 3 or something like that. And I was there an hour beforehand.
Right.
And then she says, well, you're not going to be flying for a couple days, so you can come back on Monday and pick it up. I'm like, what? Because I was hoping to get it same day, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. So now, and then it took me 3.5 hours to get home because of traffic. So I've got to do this all over again on Monday.
Oh my.
And so let me tell you, so the other part of that was watching the kids in there. Oh my word.
Yeah.
I was just part of me felt so empathetic. And then part of me was I'm just going to tune out and not watch. I can't. Not my problem. Not my circus, not my monkeys, not my problem. But then there was one dad in there who was probably, he looked probably in his 30s, with his kid and his nanny who was looking after the kid.
Maybe he was getting a passport for the nanny.
No. She was off entertaining the kid.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't they stay home? He must have been getting a passport for the kid.
Maybe
His
for the
kids, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have to get, you got to get one for your kids and they have to be there, right?
Right.
So there was a lot of kids there. Oh, my word. It was madness in there. So, yeah, do you remember the days when you had to drag your kids around to do all kinds of things and wait, like doctor's offices and
Yes.
all kinds of painful
Yes.
events like that?
I'm just thinking about when we were in Russia, we had to get U.S. passports for the kids before they could.
So you could take them
home
home
with us.
Yeah.
They had Russian passports, but we had to go to the U.S. Embassy in Moscow and go through all. It wasn't quite that excruciating, but it was a lot of waiting with kids who had, been out of an orphanage for like 3 days, and everything was new to them. And my son had zero interest in sitting still on a bench. So at one point, he pulled away from us and hit his head on the wall. So I think his passport picture has like a big lump in it or something.
No.
Like, yeah, we're going to be good parents. Here, he's only got one bruise. It's fine. So, yeah, I remember that being just sort of like, it would be hard enough if we'd had them for years and we had lots of toys and stuff for them to do. But as it was, it was just like, bet you're glad to be out of that playpen, boy. Please do not leave my lap for the next 3 hours.
Wow.
So that was it. But the best passport thing I ever had was my daughter's marching band went to Quebec. There was a lot of the kids didn't have passports. A lot of the chaperones didn't have passports, so they had like a passport event at the high school, and everybody who was going to go on this trip could come, and you could bring your family members as well, even if they weren't going, just because. And they had somebody from the passport office there, and just did everybody at once.
Wow.
We all got
That's good service.
Nice.
It was super good. So
Wow.
keep your ears open if there's some organization in your town that's going out of the country. Say, can I just pop by? Are you having a passport event there in the cafeteria?
Wow.
I could just wander by. Wouldn't hurt. I'll wait till last.
Yeah.
So that was awesome.
Well, I had to get my son's passport renewed, and when he was over 16, but under 18, but did not have a driver's license. And it was like the person at the post office who was handling it just had to spend like half an hour consulting all of her references and resources trying to figure out like what types of ID were permissible in this highly irregular situation. I'm like, surely he's not the only one.
Right.
So it eventually was done, but boy, it wasn't. She also rejected the passport pictures that we took at Walgreens. She was like, no, these aren't. But then she took her own. So she said, you can get your money back from Walgreens. But I will now charge you, whatever, $10 more to do it here. So
Wow. Because they were turning people away. Like, they had to leave to go get their photos done elsewhere. They weren't doing them there. Because there were people who were turned away because their photos.
Yeah, this was at the post office, not like a passport agency.
Oh, right.
But I guess if I had known that they would just do it themselves, I wouldn't have even bothered going to Walgreens. Like, why wouldn't I just have you take it? I thought it would speed up the process, obviously, if we brought our own. But no, not if they're not adequate. So,
Wow.
yes. But we did get it done.
Good. Good.
Well, I'm
and
glad
then you don't
got
have to get
yours.
another one for like 10 years.
10 years.
So
Yep.
awesome.
You got 10 years.
As bad as it gets, just remember you don't have kids with you.
Exactly.
Getting through a long, boring thing by yourself is stressful enough, but man, getting through a long, boring wait with kids. We used to have a pediatrician who there was always at least an hour wait, even if we had a appointment. And I just finally left and found a different pediatrician because it's like, I really like you. I like your office. I like your nurses. Everything's great, except I cannot ask this boy to wait for an hour. By the time he gets in there, he is so hyped up that everybody's like, why won't he just sit still? And it's like, he's been sitting still.
Right.
So, yeah.
And picking up who knows what in the waiting room.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That was awful. I felt so bad. I wrote them a letter after we left saying,
right. This is why.
I wish you continued success, but maybe not quite so much so that the waits get less. Yeah, so it's nice when the kids can stay home when you go out and do things.
It's the best.
Deal with
And
bureaucracy.
even better when they get old enough to do it on their own.
Right, or at least have a phone that they can sit and look at for 2 hours while they're waiting for things.
Well, it was the other thing too, right? Like when my kids were young, we didn't have them looking at cell phones.
Yeah.
I used to have like a purse full of minor amusements that could be broken out at any time. A deck of cards,
Right.
Some dice. Let's see, flashcards for your test tomorrow. I'd just be able to pull them out one after the other until the wait was over. If I ran out, I would take coins out of my purse so my son could line the coins up like they were cars. Many times. The credit cards. We would line up the credit cards on the floor. It would be great.
Right.
But what else do I have
creative.
here? Look, the purse can be a hat.
After I dump out all of the stuff that's in there.
Desperate times.
After I juggle, do cartwheels, and sing for you.
Right.
Man, if we had iPads then, my life would have been so much easier. All you people who sneer at screens, have mercy.
Or walk a mile in your shoes.
We would do the I Spy game and the, how many colors can you name in this room? And, oh my gosh, there was just an endless list of things I would come up with. They all lasted such a short time.
Right.
Work with me here, kid. Work with me. But, yeah. It's nice now that they can stay home and amuse themselves if they have to go out and do things, they're just bored on their own without me having to see it or deal with it or entertain it. Oh, you had to wait for your appointment? So sorry. Well, you never have to wait to hear what we have to say.
That's right.
Because we're here every darn day, right on time. But that is it for today's round 3. Tune in tomorrow when we'll obsess about superhero skills. And then on Friday to see what we've come up with for our Roundabout Roundup picks this week. Find all our episodes at parentingroundabout.com and talk back in the comments there on our Facebook page or on Twitter, where you'll find us at Roundabout Chat.